There is one document sitting inside your Social Security account right now that most seniors have never opened, never requested, and never even heard of. And for a significant number of people watching this video, that document contains an error that has been quietly reducing your monthly check for months or possibly years without you ever knowing it happened. Not a small error, not a rounding difference, an actual miscalculation in the earnings record that the Social Security Administration uses to determine exactly how much money you are legally entitled to receive every single month for the rest of your life. And the reason most seniors never catch it is simple. The SSA does not send you a letter when there is an error in your record. They do not call you. They do not flag it. They calculate your benefit based on whatever information is in their system, accurate or not, and they send you that amount every month. If a number is wrong, you receive less than you are legally owed every single month until you catch it yourself. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what that document is, where to find it in under 5 minutes, what to look for when you open it, and exactly what to do if you find an error. Because the process of correcting it and getting your check increased is simpler than most people expect, and the financial impact of doing it can be significant. Let me explain why this matters more than most people realize. Your Social Security benefit is calculated using a formula that looks at your highest 35 years of earnings. The SSA takes every year you worked, adjusts those earnings for inflation, identifies your top 35 earning years, and uses those numbers to calculate what is called your average indexed monthly earnings, which then determines your monthly benefit amount. The problem is that the earnings record the SSA uses to make that calculation is not always accurate. Employers make mistakes when they report wages. Data entry errors occur. Records from decades ago, particularly from the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, were not always transferred cleanly into digital systems. And in some cases, earnings from self-employment, part-time work, or jobs where you worked under a different name were never correctly attributed to your Social Security number at all. If any of your high-earning years were recorded incorrectly, if a year where you earned $40,000 was recorded as $30,000, or if a year of earnings was simply missing from your record, your entire benefit calculation is based on a lower number than it should be, which means your check is lower than it should be every month. And the SSA has no automatic mechanism to catch and correct these errors on your behalf. That responsibility falls entirely on you, which is exactly why filing this one document and reviewing what is inside it is the single most important thing a senior can do right now in 2026. The document is called your Social Security Statement. It is also sometimes referred to as your earnings record or your SSA statement. And accessing it is completely free, completely legal, and takes about 5 minutes if you follow the exact steps I'm about to give you. Here is exactly how to do it. Open your browser and go to ssa.gov. On the homepage, look for the button that says Sign In or Create an Account. It is in the upper right corner of the page. Click it. You will be directed to a login page for what the SSA calls My Social Security, their official online account portal. If you already have an account, sign in with your username and password. If you do not have an account, click Create an Account and follow the steps. You will need your Social Security number, your date of birth, your mailing address as it appears on your most recent tax return, and access to your email address and phone for a 2-step verification process. Once you are logged in, look for the section called Your Social Security Statement or Earnings Record. Click on it. What you will see is a complete year-by-year breakdown of every dollar of earnings that has ever been reported to the Social Security Administration under your Social Security number, going all the way back to the first year you ever worked. This is the document. Print it out or download it as a PDF. You are going to need it for the next step. Now here is where most people stop. They pull up the document, they see a long list of numbers, and they do not know what they are looking for. So let me tell you exactly what to look for and exactly how to identify an error that could be costing you money every single month. First, look at the years when you were working full-time and earning your highest income. For most seniors, those peak earning years were somewhere between the late 1980s and the early 2000s. Find those years in your earnings record and check the number listed next to each one. Does it match what you actually earned? If you still have old W-2 forms, tax returns, or pay stubs from those years, compare them directly to what the SSA has on file. Second, look for any years where the earnings listed are zero or unusually low when you know you were working. A 0 in a year when you were employed full-time is a significant red flag. It could mean your employer failed to report your wages correctly, or it could mean those earnings were attributed to a different Social Security number by mistake. Third, count the number of years in your record where you have any earnings at all. If you worked for more than 35 years, the SSA should be using your highest 35 years in your benefit calculation. If some of your high-earning years are missing or incorrect, lower-earning years may be substituting for them in the formula, which directly reduces your monthly benefit amount. Before we get into exactly what to do if you find an error, and the process is more straightforward than you might expect, I want to take a moment to explain why subscribing to this channel right now is directly connected to your financial well-being. Every single week, there are updates to Social Security rules, IRS reporting requirements, Medicare policies, and banking regulations that directly affect the money coming into your account. Most of those updates are not covered clearly by mainstream media. They are buried in government announcements written for policy professionals, not for the 65 million Americans who are actually affected by them. This channel translates those updates into plain English every single day, specifically for seniors who want to know what is changing, who it affects, and what they need to do about it. The people who are subscribed here found out weeks ago about the 2026 changes to how the SSA processes benefit recalculations, which means they had time to pull their earnings record, check for errors, and file the correction before the processing backlog got longer. Subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell so you are never on the wrong side of that timing again. Now let us talk about what to do if you find an error in your earnings record, because this is the part that actually puts money back in your pocket. The process for correcting an SSA earnings record error is called filing a request for correction of earnings record. It is not complicated. Here is exactly how it works. Step 1. Gather your documentation. You need proof of what you actually earned in the year or years where the error occurred. The best documentation is a W-2 form from your employer for that year. If you do not have the W-2, a copy of your federal tax return for that year showing your wages is the next best option. If you cannot locate either of those, a letter from your former employer confirming your employment dates and approximate wages can also be used. Step 2. Contact the SSA directly. You can do this by calling 1-800-772-1213. That is the SSA's main helpline, or by visiting your local Social Security office in person. In-person visits tend to move faster than phone calls for this type of correction. Step 3. Explain the discrepancy clearly and provide your documentation. Tell the SSA representative exactly which year or years you believe contain an error, what the record shows, and what your documentation proves the correct number should be. Step 4. Get a confirmation number or a written acknowledgement of your correction request. The SSA will then review your documentation and update your earnings record if the correction is verified. Step 5. Once the correction is processed, request a new benefit calculation based on your corrected earnings record. This is the step most people miss. Correcting the record alone does not automatically trigger a recalculation of your monthly benefit. You have to specifically ask for the recalculation. The financial impact of a successful correction can be substantial, and it is worth understanding exactly what we are talking about in terms of real dollars. Your monthly Social Security benefit is calculated using your average indexed monthly earnings, what the SSA calls your AIME. Your AIME is then run through a formula that applies different percentage rates to different portions of your earnings to arrive at what is called your primary insurance amount, your PIA, which is your baseline monthly benefit before any adjustments for age or other factors. If an error in your earnings record has reduced your AIME, even by a relatively small amount, the impact on your monthly benefit is amplified by the way the formula works. A difference of $5,000 in a single year's reported earnings can translate into a monthly benefit difference of $30 to $50 per month. That is $360 to $600 per year. Over a 10-year retirement, that is between $3,600 and $6,000 in total benefit payments that you were legally owed and never received. And if the error affected multiple years, which is not uncommon for seniors who change jobs frequently, worked in multiple states, or had periods of self-employment, the cumulative impact can be significantly higher. The SSA does not retroactively pay back all the benefits you missed due to an error in your record going back to when you first claimed. But once the correction is made and the recalculation is processed, your monthly benefit going forward reflects the correct amount. And for most seniors, that correction is permanent for the rest of their lives. There is one more piece of this that most people do not know, and it is the piece that makes the biggest difference for seniors who have already claimed Social Security and are currently receiving benefits. If you are already receiving Social Security and you discover an error in your earnings record, you can still file for a correction and a benefit recalculation. You do not need to be in the process of applying for benefits for the first time. The correction process is open to current recipients, and in some cases, specifically where the SSA determines that the error was on their end or on the employer's end rather than something you should have caught, you may be entitled to a limited back payment covering a portion of the underpayment. The rules around back payments are complex and the amount available is capped, but it is worth asking about specifically when you file your correction request. Additionally, if your spouse is receiving spousal benefits based on your earnings record, correcting an error in your record can also increase your spouse's monthly benefit, since spousal benefits are calculated as a percentage of your primary insurance amount. One correction, 2 checks increased. That is a meaningful financial outcome that takes about 30 minutes of your time to initiate. Let us bring everything together. Here is exactly what you need to do after this video ends. Go to ssa.gov and log into your My Social Security account, or create one if you do not have one yet. Pull up your Social Security statement and download or print your complete earnings record. Go through it year by year and look for 3 things. Years where the earnings listed do not match what you actually earned. Years where the number is 0 or unusually low when you know you were working. And any years that appear to be missing from your record entirely. If you find any discrepancies, gather whatever documentation you have for those years, W-2 forms, tax returns, or employer letters, and contact the SSA either by calling 1-800-772-1213 or by visiting your local office in person. File a request for correction of earnings record, provide your documentation, get a confirmation number, and specifically ask for a new benefit calculation once the correction is processed. That is it. That is the entire process. And for a significant number of seniors watching this right now, going through those steps is going to result in a higher monthly Social Security check for the rest of their lives. If this video helped you, and I believe it did, please share it right now with someone you know who receives Social Security. A parent, a neighbor, a friend, anyone who was born before 1966 and has never pulled up their earnings record. They may be leaving money on the table every single month without knowing it. Subscribe to Senior Exposed USA. Turn on the notification bell, and we will see you in the next video.